So I think with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got 4 attendees, and we'll go ahead and get started with the meeting. Uh, in case that there's anybody out there that doesn't know who I am, I'm David Solomon. I'm the city engineer, and I'm co-hosting this meeting. This is the 4th neighborhood meeting we've held via Zoom since the beginning of the project. Tonight's meeting is specifically with regard to the construction occurring on Red Wing Drive. So we're going to try to keep the topics pertinent to Red Wing. I wanted to introduce the panelists that we have this evening on our meeting. Of course, again, I'm David Solomon, the city engineer. We have Zach Marchant with our IT department, and he's helping us run the meeting this evening. He's recording the meeting as well, so that we'll be able to replay it later if we need to, or if somebody else wants to look at it. Also, we've got our project engineer, Mary Ayala, and our construction inspector, Chris Lee. And then with DDM, we have Matt Bartos. Matt, I don't see Jeff here.
Yeah, he was stuck on the road. So as soon as he can get in, he will, but he's stuck on the road.
So we may have a second person from DDM on the line later, but for now we've got Matt Bartos. Again, the meeting is being recorded. We want to do that for record-keeping purposes and to enable our city staff and citizens, if they're interested, to go back and review it. We're going to try to keep this meeting as close to an hour as possible. We want to respect everybody's time. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the host, which means that I have the ability to mute and unmute panelists and the participants or the attendees in the meeting at the appropriate times. The panelists on the meeting will be able to speak and answer questions as we go through the meeting. With regard to the attendees, which are the residents, let me take a half a step back. At the beginning of the meeting, myself, Mary, and Matt are going to try to cover some of the topics that have been important on this street. And try to answer some of the questions ahead of time, preemptively. Once we've kind of gone through those issues, then we're going to open this up for discussion. When we do that, if you want to speak or ask a question or make a comment, there's a little hand at the bottom of your screen, and you just click on that raise hand button, and that'll let me know that you want to speak. And when I see someone that wants to speak at the when we get to that point in the meeting, then I'll go down the list and one at a time and unmute, or I'll go ahead and unmute that person, and then that person will get a message that says that you need to unmute yourself if you want to speak. So you'll have to unmute yourself on your end, and then you'll be able to talk. And then when you're done, of course, I'll mute you again and go on to the next person. And then if you think of something else you want to say or ask, you can raise your hand again as many times as you need to, and we'll come back to you. Also, we do have a Q&A function on this meeting. So if you have a question but really don't want to speak or raise your hand, you can type your questions or comments into the Q&A box. What we typically do on these is, once we've addressed all the verbal comments, then we'll go to the Q&A box and kind of address those items one by one at the end of the meeting. I want to remind everyone that when you type something into the Q&A box, everybody can see it. So keep in mind if you're typing a comment or a question, you want it to be something that you don't mind the other attendees and panelists seeing. As always, we ask that you be brief and specific, in the interest of time. One thing we always have to say, unfortunately, is we don't want foul language, name calling, personal insults, or any kind of or monopolizing of time. Again, I do have the ability to mute people, and if I feel that someone is becoming out of hand or taking up too much time, we're going to try to move this along. Again, tonight's meeting is about Red Wing Drive, so we're going to try to stick to topics that are pertinent to Red Wing Drive. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Mary and Matt, and they're going to talk about the construction on Red Wing and Magnolia, and then get into some other topics as well. So Mary, I'm going to turn this over to you and Matt.
Thank you. The contractor has started with the coordinating and the placement. When he typically starts a street, he starts with coordinating and the placement of the temporary mailboxes with the local post office and the route carrier. Based on further discussions with the local postmaster and the fact that we're wanting to start on Magnolia, we met with the local postmaster and determined a location for all temporary group mailboxes will be placed on the north end of Magnolia, where the paving has been completed, and just south of Sweetgum. There is a street light available there, so it presents itself as a more secure location. Another pre-construction activity you saw recently was the saw cut of the paving. This is done just to in preparation of removing the pavement in smaller sections so that we're not busting it on site. And then the contractor has the irrigation sub start plugging the private irrigation lines in the parkway in which they will be working. Your remaining system should still be operational. So if you're having issues with your system working, please let me know. Is there anything else you want to add, Matthew?
No, as far as the irrigation, so the irrigation should only be out in what we consider the parkway area. If it is out in the rest of your yard, backyard, or further into your front yard, we do need to be made aware of that. But if it's out just in the parkway, that is intentional. That is part of what we're doing right now, as far as just making sure everything's capped, because we will be coming back with sidewalks. Aside from that, no, we're good.
Shall I jump on to the next topic, David?
Yes, go ahead and cover the next topic.
Okay, parking has been an issue for general resident parking, ADA spots, and contractor employees. A lot of residents have multiple cars. We are aware of this. So if you have an area in your rear that's grass that you can access fairly easy, let Chris or me know, and we'll work with the code enforcement to temporarily allow parking while there is construction in front of your house. In addition, if you have more cars than available space, we ask that you utilize Timberbrook, Live Oak, or Mockingbird for additional parking. If you have disabilities, we're working with the contractor to identify a location for your closest parking. Please reach out to Chris or me for assistance in identifying where this location would be closest to you. Right now, the contractor has identified an area. I believe it's near the group park mailboxes that are on Magnolia, or that were on Magnolia. And I believe you're clearing off the area between Mockingbird and Red Wing for some parking moving forward, correct?
Correct. That's what we had been working on, is getting that area cleared out, moving mailboxes to the new location, and getting that area cleared out because that sewer line runs on the opposite side of the street. So, yep.
Okay, how are you handling your employees?
So as far as employees go, what we've requested that they do is park out of that area. So either park onto Mockingbird and walk in, or park up on Sweetgum and walk in. Now our foreman and our superintendent, they will be parking within the job site just because they have tools, that type of thing. So we've asked people to do their best by walking into the job site, leaving parking available for everybody there. So.
Okay, again, we've got more information on irrigation systems. As mentioned previously, your private irrigation system located in your parkway, and that's the grass area between the public sidewalk and the curb of the street, will be capped. This should not impact your remaining irrigation system. If it does, please reach out to Chris or me. After the construction of the public utilities, placement of the adjacent paving, and placement of the public sidewalk in connection to your existing house walkway, the contractor will begin restoring your parkway area. This includes adjusting your water meter box, your sanitary sewer clean out, restoring your parkway irrigation, replacing your sod.
Okay. The next part, or the next topic we wanted to discuss was storage materials in the street parkway. I know that's been an issue. When we first started this job, of course, the contractor was working further to the south and east, where we started over on Live Oak and Walnut and down in that area. And of course, the contractor is using some city property down there in that corner as a storage yard. And so at the beginning of the project, when that's where the construction was, that was a convenient storage yard for them for most of their purposes. Now that the construction has moved further west and further north, and those streets south of Red Wing now all have new pavement. We certainly don't want the contractor running back and forth to that storage yard across our brand new streets with materials constantly all day long. So as a matter of convenience and in hopes of not damaging our new concrete, the contractor is allowed to store materials that they're using relatively often in the parkway in the area where the construction is. So there's nothing in our contract to preclude them from doing that. As a matter of fact, that's a very common practice. They're still using the storage yard down at Live Oak for some items that they don't use as often. And then I think they're taking some spoils down there and things of that nature. But materials like manholes and pipe and things of that nature that they're actually using on the job and they need to have on hand are being stored in the parkway. Now, that being said, that needs to be controlled. So, if that storage of materials along the edge of the street and in the parkway becomes unmanageable or causes problems for access and visibility, then you need to reach out to Mary or Chris and let them know that that's become a problem. If you notice that, hopefully they'll notice that if it really is a problem, but please reach out if you see something that you think is problematic in terms of that storage. Matt, do you have anything else to add there?
No, just to kind of reiterate what you said, we try to keep our major materials, pipe, manholes, bedding, fittings, that type of thing near us on the job site. The stuff that we aren't going to use till a little bit later down the road, we do keep that in the yard. So like meter boxes, smaller parts, that type of thing, we do keep at the yard. But as far as like the major stuff that we install on a daily basis, that is the stuff that we're storing, on site. So there could be a lot more stored on site, but we do our best to split it up to daily use. Materials we do keep right there, right next to us, and then all the rest that kind of come after we're done installing. That's when that's the stuff we keep at the yard. So yeah, I mean, we try to minimize as best we can, but unfortunately the stuff that goes in the ground is the biggest stuff. So
and again, we're going to do our best to make sure that when there is material there, that it's neatly stored as possible, and that it's not causing a visibility problem or some other kind of hazard. Next topic is street sweeping and dust control, and I'm going to turn that over to Matt to discuss his typical procedures for that.
So now that we're getting into the, I guess the rainy season per se, the dust should be minimal, but we're doing our best during the summer months to keep that dust down by getting as much water as we can when we can on the streets. Sometimes it would create mud, that type of thing, so it was minimal. Not perfect by any means on it, but we did our best to try and keep the streets clean. I do drive through on my Saturdays and Sundays just to make sure that when we do leave that job site over the weekend, that the streets are clean. We do a pretty good thorough, a heavier sweeping, I should say, on Fridays going into weekends, that type of thing, just to make sure that over the weekend when the majority of that traffic is moving back and forth with people coming in and going from their homes more often, it is in good shape. Again, this whole process, it is a difficult process because we are tearing out the street. We do dig down, 15 to 20 foot deep. There is a lot of what we call spoils, which is the dirt piles and stuff like that. So we do our best to run the loader as well to pick up anything large, to kind of scrape those streets to keep them clean as well. So, we do our best, but it's by any means, it does, when that wind blows, it does kick up a little bit. We try to, as well, when we have sand for our bedding, we try to keep those piles in the evenings. We'll wet those down, build a crust on the top, so that way the wind won't stir those up while we're off site. As well as the city has their stormwater guy checking us as well on a very regular basis, making sure that we are within tolerance of what TCEQ standards are with regards to that, the streets being clean, tracking, that type of thing for the project we're on. So it is being policed by multiple fronts, and not only by us internally, but by the city as well. And we try to, when there are issues, we try to address those immediately. But again, the dust, it really should start to settle down with the more, dew in the mornings, that type of thing. That all helps out. So I appreciate you standing with us, standing next to us on it. We're going as quick as we can to get down your street and get paving back. So that's all I got.
Okay. Okay, construction vehicle safety, maintenance and operation. There have been some issues brought up in the past with regard to the safety of some DDM's vehicles and some, I guess, unsafe driving. With the issue of unsafe driving, if our inspector, Chris, or if Mary happens to be out there and they see something occurring that is unsafe, they can stop that driver or get a hold of Matt or whomever. And if they've got an eyewitness account of it, then they can deal with that directly. If Mary and Chris don't see it, but perhaps a citizen sees it, you can call Mary or Chris or even myself and let me know that something happened that was unsafe. At that point, there's not much we can do about it because we're not there, we didn't see it, but we still can and we do contact the contractor and let them know what happened. We've had that happen several times. I know we had an instance some time ago that with a truck and a trailer that didn't have their brakes set correctly. Somebody called that in. We got to Matt, we got that figured out, and they got the brakes set correctly so that that issue didn't happen again. So, we do have ways of fixing those problems, but again, if we're not there to, it's just like a driving violation. If the police aren't there and somebody runs a stop sign, they're not getting a ticket. If the police happen to be there, then they're probably going to get a ticket. With regard to the vehicle safety, I know we had some problems early in the project with some of the backup alarms not working. That issue was resolved very early in the project. I don't think we've had that happen. And if we have, it's just been a rare instance. So I think we've got that solved. As a matter of fact, just recently, one of our city DOT inspectors, I think they work for the police department, came out and inspected every vehicle that DDM has on the job. Every vehicle passed inspection. I think they found one broken tail light, and that's been repaired. But they did a thorough inspection of all of DDM's vehicles, including fluid levels. I mean, they were very thorough, and all DDM's vehicles passed inspection. So at this point, I don't believe there are any unsafe vehicles out there on the job. Matt, did you have anything to add?
No, I mean there is general maintenance with our equipment. Sometimes lights burn out after our inspections, that type of thing. But I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we got a thorough inspection at the beginning of this street. I mean, extensive, and we passed them all, and there was no problems. We weren't worried about it because we knew we were running legally, everything like that. So it kind of just reassured myself as well as our equipment manager that he's doing his job. And yeah, I mean, once you get into that DOT stuff and they run those thorough checks the way they did, that's the high end. That's not just making sure that the backup lights or backup signals are working, that type of thing. They're going through making sure your windows roll down, that you don't have any broken mirrors, that your fluids are at the proper level, that you're not running with dyed diesel. I mean, they're checking everything on that, so it's super extensive. And I was actually with us getting through that with our equipment and everything like that. It just proved that we were running good. So other than that, we do our best to keep it, but lights burn out, some things short out sometimes, but we get them addressed as quickly as we can.
Package delivery is the next topic. I understand that there were some residents on Red Wing early back when we first started doing the work on Red Wing that did not receive some packages from UPS and FedEx. Both the contractor and Chris are doing their best to flag down these drivers, especially if they get stuck behind a vehicle. And we try to get those construction vehicles moved out of the way as quickly as we can. And Chris, our inspector, has talked to a number of the delivery drivers out there and have told them that if they need some help getting down the street or they need something clear to get through, that we're gonna make sure that they get that help. Chris has been sort of monitoring the delivery vehicles out there since that first happened. And at least at this point, it appears that both Amazon and UPS, well, I think it's UPS, has been making regular deliveries out there without too much trouble. And we've spoken to some of the people that were having problems with packages. They've since, received those packages. And I'm not aware personally of anybody else who's missing packages. So if anybody on this call is still having problems with deliveries, please let us know. The only delivery service that I don't think we've seen much of out there in Timberbrook is UPS. Maybe we've just missed them, but we haven't noticed UPS trucks. But the other ones we've noticed making deliveries. So again, if you've got a problem, reach out to Mary or Chris or myself, and we'll see what we can do to help with that. But at this point, it appears that little glitch has been taken care of. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mary and Matt, and they're going to cover kind of where we're at with the various streets. So Mary, will take it from here?
Okay, I'll take the completed streets, and then Matt, you can take the ones that are still under construction. Sweet Gum Road is completed except for some minor punch list items that were identified during the walkthrough. We do have to add 2 ADA ramps, and that should be either done as a punch list, or I guess, Matt, do you know when we might look at that?
The punch list is when we're going to look at that, like
Okay.
right before punch list. When we go into that final phase, that's when we'll do it. I think we had talked that we just want to get through these other streets. So if there's more that are identified.
No problem. Walnut Drive, the roadway is completed except for some minor items identified in the preliminary walkthrough. Again, I believe that one also has an additional ADA ramp that needs to be constructed. Live Oak Drive is complete except for the cross street tie-in of Red Wing, and I think it lacks a wall, or did that get poured today? Anyway, Thrush Court roadway is completed except for some minor items identified in the preliminary walkthrough. All right, those 2 lacking roads.
All right. So to answer your question on Mockingbird, we got that sidewalk poured, and they'll pour the wall into this week, and then that'll be it for Mockingbird as far as the one retaining wall on there. That'll be taken care of, poured in place. As far as progress goes, so we have down Red Wing right now, we're about 65 to 70% complete with the sanitary sewer. We lack about a little over 400 foot left to run of the sanitary sewer. Then we will have to go back and we will start running our long services, which the long services are the services across the street from where the pipeline is being run. And then we will perform our testing, all those functions. After that, what we'll do is we will move in, and you'll start to see storm sewer being delivered. Now, the storm sewer on Red Wing isn't the full length. We have a small little bit at the very beginning, right at Red Wing and Live Oak, which is going to we're going to add 2 inlets there. And then the rest picks up right at the intersection of Magnolia and Red Wing. That gets a big junction box, which catches the storm sewer coming down Magnolia, as well as it picks up storm sewer going down Red Wing towards Timberbrook. So that will be the next phase of this project, will be the storm sewer. You'll start to see that arrive. I believe I have it set up for middle of next week for those materials, that pipe to start arriving, getting ready for installation on that. So after that, then we'll run the water, no different than we did on the other streets. And then the water is the last utility that will go in. So once you see the water going in, that is the last underground utility. But in the interim, what we'll do is after we run that storm, we will get the one side paved. That is I guess that would be we'll call it the south side, I guess, of Red Wing. That area will be paved, and that lends it into why we had to start Magnolia as well, as we have to get the utilities through. We have to get the utilities all tied in and laid down Magnolia for us to finish Red Wing. If we don't do that, then we can't pave Red Wing. So Red Wing would come to a standstill. So that's where the Magnolia utilities come in. So Magnolia utilities, same deal. We're gonna tie into the sewer, sewer manhole that was placed at Magnolia and at Red Wing, and we're gonna run up towards the two cul-de-sacs, towards Sweet Gum with that sewer. Again, trying to get the sewer in first, then we come back, we have storm that we got to run. We'll run the storm and then the water. The two cul-de-sacs that are on Magnolia, we will be running those utilities as well. We'll be running, those don't get storm, but they do get water and sewer, but we'll be running those as well. So that way, everybody in that area, gets their utilities in, and then when we pave, we're able to pave the two cul-de-sacs with half of Magnolia. So that's kind of where we stand right now with the project. The soil conditions are good. Materials are still a little bit scarce. Again, these shortages are kind of hampering us a little bit, but we're not getting into things until we have all the materials on hand. Hence why those manholes, I know there was a big question why those manholes sat out there for so long and we kind of vanished. It was because we were waiting on materials to come through port or to be manufactured. And we did not want to start your street until Red Wing, until we knew we had the pipe available, along with all the other miscellaneous materials. Aside from that, our irrigators come through. They've capped the irrigation in the parkway, like was mentioned earlier. And if for some reason, if your irrigation wasn't capped, because they have missed some in the past, please let us know and I'll get them out there and we'll get it capped. Don't let it go. Don't just let it go, I should say. So that's kind of the process, as well as progress on the project. Sewer's going in great, no issues there. And yeah, that's it. We're trying to get through and get you guys put back in. So that's all I got.
And with that, I think that covers all the construction issues. I wanted to comment about the schedule a little bit. DDM is still well in line to complete this project by this coming summer. The original contract had them completing the job by, I believe it was August of 2022. Now we have added a few days to the contract because they had to do some additional paving work up on Timberbrook that was not in the original contract, and it was rather extensive. So we did add a few days to their contract, but even with that, it really only extends it maybe a month. So we're still looking at that August-September timeframe next year for completion at the very latest. So unless something really terrible happens with the supply chain or we get a string of bad weather or something, I don't foresee the project lasting any longer than what we had originally intended. Mary and Matt, is there anything else to add as far as schedule?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. We're trending, to finish on time. We've gotten I'd say, quote unquote, the hard streets out of the way, and we're steamrolling right along, just trying to get done and, try and finish under contract time, obviously, is our goal. We don't want to inconvenience any longer than we have to. So no, but we're still internally as well as with the city, we're still tracking right on where we need to be. So.
Okay, and with that, I guess we're going to open this up for comment and questions. Just one moment. Okay, looks like Ms. Gillum, you're up first for comment. I've unmuted you, so.
Couple of things. I've told them numerous times that my irrigation system was not capped at 738 Red Wing. Matter of fact, the PVC pipes are sticking out up there. And the guys came by one day when they started it. I did not know who they were. I couldn't get verification at that point in time that they were definitively with DDM or subcontracted with DDM. And because it just randomly showed up at the door. And then I've asked over and over for them to come back, and they've never come back. So that the system has not been capped and needs to be capped, please. And a couple other things, the backup lights on the loader, one of them has been burnt out for a long time, and the water truck also, I noticed today, the backup lights, some of them are burnt out. One other thing is the personal vehicles of DDM or their subcontractors. Whoever drives the black Ram truck was not happy with one of the residents or their guests this morning on Red Wing that was waiting for a child to get in the vehicle that was going to school. And I saw that happen. And it was definitively one of either DDM's workers or their subcontractors. It was the black Ram truck that actually was parked further down on Red Wing, actually right in front of my house the majority of the day. So that's one of the things these subs and DDM workers need to be aware of. We live here, and this is not 40 acres that's undeveloped. These are our homes. Children go to school, people walk dogs. And they need to be, aware and slow down and pay attention, to our daily way of life. I realize they're trying to do a job, and I realize they have, deadlines they're trying to meet, but at the same time that needs to be balanced. And honking their horns at residents when they're waiting for a child to load into a vehicle I think was not appropriate.
Okay, well, your comments have been noted, and Matt, I'm assuming that you'll have your irrigation guy go out there and take a look at that. Was that it, Ms. Gillum?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and Chris and I have already talked about her irrigation, so we already have a plan for that. So yes, she'll be taken care of.
Okay, the next person is Jonathan Saunders.
Hey guys, thanks for throwing this thing. I have so my house is kind of weird. I'm at 757. My house sits at the top of a hill, but the sidewalk is down at the bottom of a hill. So I'm basically where from Timberbrook and from Magnolia, it slopes down in the middle. I'm the middle. So I am wondering whether or not I can request a retaining wall once you guys bust up my the sidewalk in front of the house, just to make things easy, because right now my front yard slopes into that sidewalk and I don't know how far you guys are going to cut that back. So if possible, if you could look at it, I'm not opposed to a retaining wall.
Jonathan, your address is 757 Red Wing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I will, I'll put my phone number on the out there for you, and I will be happy to meet with you. Is there a good time?
Anytime on Friday. I'm here all day.
Okay, I will drop by on Friday and chat with you about that, okay?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Is that it, Mr. Saunders?
Yeah, the only other question I have is, what is the scheduled completion date? I don't know that I ever received that.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
yeah, right now on your street, we're probably talking about another Roughly, I would say about 2 months total said and done, sidewalks in, everything like that. If we can get it done quicker, we will. That would include testing and that type of thing. So, if you're looking for like when you really won't see us out there, that's probably it. But if we can draw that in, obviously we will. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not a problem. I just didn't know if the holidays were going to screw anything up as far as scheduling.
Honestly, the holidays for us, we try to during that time we know a lot of people have time off. Our guys want time off, so we do our best to try and give our guys time off. We get the job site tidied up, everything like that, make sure everything's good for you guys to be able to come and go, that type of thing. And then we usually try and give our guys about a week off. I think this year, since it falls in between, since Christmas is on a Saturday, we have scheduled holidays with the city that we can't work. So that following week, I believe we only have like 3 days that we're allowed to work per our contract. So right now we're leaning towards just not having anybody out there for about a week. So yeah, but the holidays are factored into overall timelines.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
The only other thing that I would add, of course, is we're going into the winter months, and there's certain things that can and can't be done depending on how wet it is and how cold it is. There's a lot of things that we don't allow the contractor to do when it gets down below freezing. So we'll have to keep that in mind too. As long as the weather stays relatively warm and we continue this dry spell, it should be clear sailing. But if we have any surprises like we had last year or earlier this year, I guess, then that'll probably add some time. But we're going to keep our fingers crossed on the weather. I don't see any more hands raised. I do have one comment in the Q&A box. It's Jody and Chuck Geisel at 785 Red Wing. They also want to visit with us about a retaining wall in front of their house as well. So Mary will contact you and set up a time to meet with you out there on your property and take a look at that issue with you. And then we'll go from there. Is there anybody else that has a question or a comment? Okay, well, it doesn't look like there's anybody else that has anything. So with that, I think we're going to close the meeting. Appreciate your attendance. Again, please continue to reach out to Mary and Chris as you have issues. And I can be reached as well in their absence. And also remember that this meeting was recorded, so if you do want to go back and review anything, we should have this posted online within a few days, I'm guessing. So, we'll be able to do that as well. So anyway, thanks a lot. Have a nice evening, and we're going to close this down and go home. So good night.